Every day, countries buy and sell trillions of dollars worth of goods. Every trade needs one simple thing, money. But hundreds of years ago, every country used different money. That made international trade much harder. Imagine trying to buy something with money nobody accepts. So countries began looking for one currency everyone could trust. That trusted currency was first the British pound. Britain controlled trade across much of the world. British ships carried goods almost everywhere. As trade grew, more countries trusted the British pound. Then everything changed. World War I cost Britain an enormous amount of money. Britain borrowed huge amounts of money to keep fighting. One of Britain's biggest lenders was the United States. While Europe struggled, American factories kept producing goods. Countries wanted American products, so they needed American dollars. More trade meant more dollars spread around the world. America also received huge amounts of gold. Soon, the United States held more gold than any other country. The center of the world's economy slowly moved from Britain to America. But the world still had one big problem. Every country was using a different currency. Businesses wasted time exchanging money before every trade. The world needed a simpler system. In 1944, world leaders met to build a new financial system. The meeting was called the Bretton Woods Conference. Their goal was to make global trade easier. They wanted every country to trust the same financial system. But one question remained. Which country's money should the world use? The answer was the US dollar. But countries needed a reason to trust it. America made a powerful promise. Every US dollar could be exchanged for gold. That promise made people feel safe. More countries began saving US dollars. These savings became their foreign reserves. Those reserves helped countries buy goods from anywhere. Global trade became much easier. The US dollar slowly became the world's main currency. Soon, countries started trading directly in US dollars. Businesses no longer had to exchange money every time. Trade became faster. Trade also became cheaper. More countries wanted to join the system. The system worked because everyone trusted it. The dollar became the foundation of global trade. Then another challenge appeared. America's economy kept growing. But more dollars were being printed every year. Countries started asking an important question. Could every dollar really be exchanged for gold? There were more dollars than gold. Trust in the system slowly began to weaken. Some countries wanted their gold instead of dollars. Gold started leaving America's vaults. America faced a difficult decision. Keep exchanging dollars for gold, or stop the exchange completely. In 1971, America closed the gold window. Many people thought the dollar would collapse. But something unexpected happened. The world still needed dollars to trade. There was simply no better alternative. Then another event made the dollar even stronger. That event involved oil. Every country needs oil. Without oil, modern economies stop moving. Oil producers agreed to sell oil in US dollars. Now, every country needed dollars to buy oil. Countries first had to collect US dollars. The easiest way was by exporting goods. Sell products, earn dollars. Those dollars were then used to buy oil. This created constant demand for the dollar. Central banks started keeping more dollars. Those dollars became emergency savings. If a crisis happened, those dollars could pay for imports. That made the dollar even more valuable. Soon, the dollar was used almost everywhere. International loans were also made in dollars. Many international companies priced products in dollars. Even countries that disliked America still used dollars. Trade was simply easier with one common currency. The dollar had become a global habit. But some countries wanted another option. They wanted to rely less on the dollar. Some countries started trading in their own currencies. But changing the global system is difficult. The US dollar still remains the world's dominant currency today. Why hasn't another currency replaced the dollar? Because replacing the dollar is extremely difficult. A global currency needs trust. It also needs a strong economy. It needs stable financial markets. Investors must feel their money is safe. The United States has built that trust for decades. That trust cannot be built overnight. Even if another currency grows, change takes years. That's why the US dollar still rules the world today. But no currency stays on top forever. Before the dollar, the British pound ruled global trade. Before the pound, other empires led world trade. History shows that economic power can change. Today, some countries want to reduce their dependence on the dollar. They are trading more with their own currencies. Some central banks are buying more gold. Others are building new payment systems. But these changes take a long time. Building global trust cannot happen overnight. The dollar is powerful because people keep using it. The more people use it, the more useful it becomes. Economists call this the network effect. Everyone uses it because everyone else already does. That makes switching to another currency very difficult. Even America's rivals keep holding dollars. They need dollars for trade and emergencies. That keeps global demand for dollars alive. So the dollar remains at the center of world trade. The dollar rules the world because the world keeps choosing it. One of the biggest possible challengers is China. China has become one of the world's largest economies. It also exports enormous amounts of goods. But China still uses the yuan for most of its own economy. The yuan is not yet used nearly as much internationally as the dollar. And global investors want markets they can easily enter and leave. America's financial markets are enormous. Trillions of dollars can move through these markets. That makes the dollar attractive to investors. Another advantage is America's huge government bond market. Countries can invest their dollar reserves in U.S. government debt. That gives them another reason to hold dollars. The euro is another major competitor. Europe has a huge economy too, but Europe has one major weakness. Europe is made up of many different countries. Their economies and governments do not all work the same way. That makes one unified financial system more complicated. So the euro has not replaced the dollar globally. Then there is Bitcoin. Bitcoin does not depend on any single government. That makes it completely different from traditional currencies. But Bitcoin has a major problem as a global currency. Its price can move dramatically. Businesses prefer money that is more predictable. They need to know what their money will be worth tomorrow. That is still one reason the dollar has an advantage. The dollar is not perfect, but replacing it would require something much bigger. It would need to beat the dollar at almost everything. So what could actually threaten the dollar? The biggest threat will be a loss of trust. If the world stopped trusting U.S. institutions, things could change. Investors could start moving their money elsewhere. Central banks could reduce their dollar reserves. Companies could start invoicing trade in other currencies. Oil producers could also accept other currencies. That would reduce one of the dollar's biggest advantages. But there is another problem. The dollar is deeply connected to global finance. Banks hold dollars. Companies use dollars. Investors buy dollar-based assets. Even global banks settle payments in dollars. Replacing the dollar would mean rebuilding this entire network. And that would be incredibly expensive. It would also create enormous uncertainty. Businesses hate uncertainty. They prefer a system they already understand. That's another reason the dollar stays dominant. But America's own decisions can also weaken it. Huge government debt can create concerns. Political instability can also hurt confidence. Financial crises can damage trust very quickly. Yet even during crises, people often rush toward dollars. This is called a safe haven effect. When fear rises, demand for dollars can rise too. That is a strange advantage. The currency can remain powerful even when its country faces problems. Safe haven demand does not guarantee permanent dominance. A currency must keep earning trust over time. That means keeping inflation under control. It means keeping financial markets functioning. And it means maintaining confidence in the banking system. These things sound boring, but they are exactly what makes a currency powerful. This is why the dollar story is really a story about trust. Trust that the money will hold value. Trust that banks will keep working. Trust that contracts will be honored. And trust that markets will remain open. When those things work, people keep using the currency. And when more people use it, its network becomes stronger. This creates a powerful cycle. More use creates more trust. More trust creates more use. And that makes the dollar hard to replace. It is not just about America's military power. It is not just about America's size either. It is about the system built around the dollar. A system that took decades to build. And billions of people now depend on it. Changing that system would be extremely disruptive. That is why change happens slowly. The dollar could lose influence one day, but replacing it would probably take decades. For now, the dollar remains deeply embedded in global finance. And that is the real secret behind its power. The dollar is powerful because the world economy was built around it. And that explains why the dollar is still number one. Not because everyone loves America, and not because the dollar has no weaknesses. Its strength comes from the system surrounding it. Think about what happens when two countries trade. They need a way to settle the payment. If both countries already use dollars, the process becomes easier. There is no need to exchange currencies first. That saves time and reduces friction. Now, imagine millions of businesses doing this. The convenience becomes incredibly valuable. This is one reason the dollar became the common language of finance. And once a currency becomes the common language, switching becomes difficult. Everyone would have to change their systems. Banks would need new payment networks. Companies would need new contracts. Governments would need new reserves. Investors would need new markets. And central banks would need to coordinate everything. That is an enormous coordination problem. And that is why the dollar's advantage is so persistent. It is not one advantage. It is dozens of advantages working together. Trade, banking, government bonds, financial markets, global reserves. All of these reinforce each other. And together, they create the world's dominant financial network. And that is why the US dollar rules the world. So the next time you see a dollar, remember, it's more than just money. It's the foundation of a global financial system built over decades. And as long as the world continues to trust that system, the dollar may remain at the center of global finance. But the real question is, how long can that dominance last? What do you think could replace the dollar someday? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more simple explanations of money, markets, and the global economy.